The maneuver at ease special inscription for the Wedge 2 formation has a negative downside for your Emperor Qin. So today we're going to talk about just how bad that might be for your Emperor Qin march, and is it so bad that you actually would just not get this special inscription, period. Hopefully this video will help you answer those questions, but before we jump in, of course, what's going on, guys? Cheers. Now, if you guys saw my last video, I spent a lot of time talking about the maneuver at ease special inscription because I actually have 8 inscription shards saved up, and it's really expensive to get these. It takes a really long time, and so before I actually went in and bought the maneuver at ease special inscription, I had a couple of questions as to how this works with Emperor Qin, because as you guys know, Emperor Qin is already converting his basic attacks into direct damage factor, and so I wasn't sure if this was really worth the 8 shards that I've saved up, and we'll talk about that today. Now, if you want the long explanation about my original concerns with that special inscription, check out my last video. There's timestamps, you can jump right to it. It has to do with the rage consumption on the second skill of Emperor Qin, and by the way, I did actually announce a giveaway in that video, so it is not too late to enter that giveaway, but you'll have to drop a comment on that previous video. Of course, you can drop a comment on this video as well if you'd like to. Leave a thumbs up while you're down there and double check that you're subbed. But anyway, the TLDR version of my concern with the maneuver ID special inscription is that the active skill on Emperor Qin is cast through rage consumption, and the second skill is what says that when you launch a basic attack, Emperor Qin will spend 100 rage to convert that basic attack into direct damage factor. And through some of the testing that Shiskel Gaming already did, we did learn a lot about this special inscription, but that specific thing was the piece of the puzzle that was missing, because of course, as you know, the special inscription here does convert your basic attack into a stronger direct damage factor hit of 150% as opposed to 100% from Emperor Qin. And not long after posting that video, I got a DM from Lord Purr over in Kingdom 3317 who said, "You are right, the skill cycle is being affected by the Wedge 2 flag special inscription on Emperor Qin. I've been testing all morning while barb chaining with it on or off. It is slowing the skill cycle down 2 to 3 seconds when you are being swarmed by 3 targets reliably. If you are hit by 3 targets, you are doing 3 counterattacks, so you are proccing this constantly, overriding the normal mechanic of Emperor Qin that would allow you to consume 100 rage." And this was precisely the question that I had posed in that video, and unfortunately I am still waiting to hear back from the developers about specifically how this mechanic works. But as I said before, if the special inscription is causing Emperor Qin to not consume 100 rage every time that it procs, which depending on the number of targets could be every 3 turns, it could be every other turn, it could be every however many turns, you just need to do 3 basic and counter attacks within 5 seconds of an active skill in order to convert your damage factor with a 1 second cooldown, which is important. Okay, so Lord Purr then sent me their battle reports here, not only with barbarians but also with actual marches in the open field. So first, let's take a look at this battle report, which they say, with the inscription applied, hit by 3 barbs, no secondary commander. Okay, so let's take a look here. It is Emperor Qin, no secondary. We do see that there are 3 barbs right here. Okay, and if we take a look at the statistics, we'll find at the bottom here that they do in fact have the maneuver at ease inscription for this battle report. Okay, so let's take a look at the active skill procs here. You'll see that on turn 11 is when Emperor Qin is casting his active skill for the first time, and then let's see when he procs it again on turn 19. Okay, so that is 8 turns later, and then again on turn 27, and then again on turn 35. So you can see that after the initial active skill, he casts every 8 seconds with 3 barbarians swarming him. Now let's see how often he casts his active skill without this special inscription on the flag. Okay, so once again we have 3 different barbarians, Emperor Qin with no secondary, and if we go into the statistics, you'll see that they do not in fact have the special inscription equipped here, and we can go into the battle log and we will see that the first cast is on turn 10, and then again on turn 15, and then again on turn 21, and then again on turn 26. So after the first cast, it was 5 turns, then 6 turns after that, and then we've got 5 turns after that, and then we've got 6 turns after that. Okay, so we can see that without the special inscription maneuver at ease, under the same conditions with barbarians, we are seeing a difference in the cast time of about 2 seconds. Now that sounds really bad, and I will talk about what that actually means in a second, but let's first go over the actual army battle reports that they shared as well. Now, as you guys know, I was in Miami this weekend. In fact, I literally landed about an hour and a half ago, and I came right home to film this for you guys, but I was kind of trying to check some messages and the game and things like that. So I responded and said, so it only affects it when you're swarmed. What if you're just attacking one target? Thank you for sharing, by the way. That's very helpful. I really appreciate it. They said, yes, when you are swarmed by 3 targets, you are dishing out 3 counter attacks, so allowing to proc the flag inscription every turn during the window. There is a 1-second cooldown, by the way, which is basically robbing you of the chance to consume 100 rage each of those turns. Everything else works the same. You just don't consume rage to convert the basic attack to direct damage, which is blowing out the skill cycle. I don't know how this will affect real battle situations. And then 30 minutes later, they came back and said, hey, I did the test with real marches. It fluctuates a little bit more because of other factors, but the skill cycle is still getting affected greatly. That is bad news, folks. We do not want to see longer skill cast times for the strongest commander in the game. It's not as bad as it sounds, so we'll talk about that in a second, but still kind of surprising, honestly. So let's take a look here. This first battle report that was shared was Emperor Qin with Shajar. This is without the special inscription. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's double check. We've got Lord Per here being swarmed by 3 different armies. If we go into the statistics, we will see that there is no maneuver at ease equipped here at all. And if we jump into the battle log, we will see that Emperor Qin first casts on turn 8 right here. Okay, 1 conquer 6. Shajar casts on turn 10, of course, and then again on turn 12 we see Emperor Qin casting his active skill. And I know he's been in the game for a while, but it still is always like shocking to me to see just how fast he can cast this active skill. But anyway, we see Shajar cast again on turn 14, and then on turn 16 we see Emperor Qin cast again. So again, 4 turns after Emperor Qin casts, he casts again. Then we see turn 18 is Shajar, then turn 20 is Emperor Qin, and then 22 is Shajar. Okay, you get the point. Okay, the skill cycle for Emperor Qin is insane when he's being swarmed without the special inscription. Let's take a look at the next battle report, where they said this one is with the legendary flag inscription applied. So once again, Lord Per's army, it's the same primary and secondary, swarmed by 3 targets of the same player. And if we go into the statistics, we will see that there is 28 procs of maneuver at ease here. So we do know that the special inscription is applied. Let's jump into the battle log. Emperor Qin casts on turn 8, Shajar casts on turn 10, and then Emperor Qin doesn't cast again until turn 13. So that's actually 6 turns later, as opposed to the 4 turns without the special inscription. Okay, so then Shajar casts again on 15, and then Emperor Qin casts again on turn 20. Just to be clear here, Emperor Qin turn 13, we will see he casts his 1 conquer 6. Okay, so on 15 that would be Shajar as the secondary, and then again we don't see another primary cast of Emperor Qin until turn 20. If we scroll all the way down here, 1 conquer 6. Okay, so that is 7 turns later that Emperor Qin is casting, and we can see again after that Emperor Qin cast again on turn 28, then Shajar on 30, and then it looks like Emperor Qin again on 34. Okay, so not bad there. Definitely a little bit more variation, but one thing is absolutely certain: Emperor Qin is casting his active skill less frequently with the maneuver at ease special inscription, all else the same. Whether Lord Per tested against barbarians or against another player's actual marches, the outcome was pretty much the same. There's a little bit more variation with actual real world fighting, of course, rather than just getting swarmed down. Hey guys, Omniarch from the future. I noticed while I was editing this video that I actually didn't show you the literal turns of this working. I only showed you how it affects the skill cycle. Okay, so let's actually just go through this. You'll see turn 8 is the first cast of the active skill for Emperor Qin. This is 1 conquer 6. Okay, and then we'll see maneuver at ease is not triggered on turn 9, which is interesting, but at the end of turn 10 is when we first see maneuver at ease inscription was triggered. Emperor Qin gained the effect, takes effect at the start of the next turn. Then we go into turn 11, we scroll all the way down here, and we will see maneuver at ease inscription of Emperor Qin was triggered this turn. Emperor Qin's troop gained the effect, takes effect at the start of the next turn. Then we go to turn 12, and maneuver at ease is triggered again. They gain the effect, starts the next turn, and then, as you might imagine, maneuver at ease is triggered the following turn as well. Okay, so I know that maneuver at ease has a 1-second cooldown here. I guess that just means it can't trigger more than once per turn. I'm assuming that's what they mean here. Maybe my earlier interpretation was wrong, but this can occur every single turn within the 5 seconds after using an active skill. Okay, so if it does trigger every turn, then you're not spending 100 rage every single turn after the first active skill cast, which is kind of insane. Remember, that's being swarmed by 3 armies, but still, as Lord Per says, if you're only attacking one target, it's only applying after 3 turns, so much less noticeable for the skill cycle, much harder to see on reports. I said very interesting, so my suspicion is correct then. It seems like perhaps it might not be worth getting the legendary flag inscription. Now this was kind of my knee-jerk reaction. Okay, so I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth on what I think about the flag, but you got to remember I was on vacation. I was just kind of flicking through the battle reports really quickly. All right, so I followed up by saying if it's not very noticeable in real fights, then I suppose it's not a big deal, but still unfortunate that it's a downside or nerf essentially. And Lord Per said in the end it is still extending the skill cycle. Not many times that is a good thing, and I think that is, I mean, frankly, like that is super well said, right? Like there's basically never a time in Rise of Kingdoms, especially with Emperor Qin, where you're like happy about getting a slower skill cycle, right? I mean, like, let's just face it, that's the truth. Okay, luckily Lord Per only spent 1 stone to convert this. It's not good for people to be rushing to pay the full conversion price, and that's why I'm making this video, so you guys know not to jump right into spending 10 conversion stones to getting maneuver at ease. Okay, so now let's kind of break down what this actually means for real world PvP with Emperor Qin. Okay, well, the first thing that we have to know is that it seems like the effect is amplified if you are swarmed down, right? Because that's how the maneuver at ease special inscription works. Counterattacks seem to be part of the problem here. Obviously when you're swarmed, you're dealing more counterattacks, which means you're going to stack up the 3 basic attack counterattack counter. I know I just said counter a bunch of times there, hopefully you're following, and so this is going to trigger a lot more frequently. Okay, but let's think about this for a second. First of all, does this matter? Because there are other things that this is doing, right? Like you are getting damage resistance, smite damage resistance, and the converted damage is higher than Emperor Qin's regular converted damage. Okay, well, the first thing that we have to think about, if you're going from a 4-second skill cycle to a 6, 7, or maybe even 8-second skill cycle, that's awful. But let's also think about, what does Emperor Qin's active skill even do? It gives you the Eternal Emperor effect for 10 seconds. So you still have 100% uptime of your Eternal Emperor effect, whether you're casting every 4 seconds or every 6 seconds or every 8 seconds, you're still always going to have the Emperor Qin effect because it's 10 seconds, right? As long as your skill cycle is less than 10, you're always going to have the Eternal Emperor effect, which means you're always going to be dealing direct damage to up to 5 nearby targets with the Iron Pierce's bronze skill. Okay, the real downside here is that your secondary commander is going to be casting their active skill less frequently. Now again, as Lord Per said, in real world fights you obviously are not going to stand there and get swarmed on purpose, or at least you shouldn't be, and in situations where that is occurring, you're probably going to be dead pretty quickly. But I will say that just knowing that this special inscription is slowing down your skill cycle, right, in real world fights, it's going to be a lot less noticeable than here, right? Really, this was the perfect scenario to slow down Emperor Qin's skill cycle. But just knowing that there are instances where in real world fights you will have a slower skill cycle for Emperor Qin, that feels pretty bad, right? Because again, as Lord Per said, there's just no situation where that's good or acceptable or something that you would want, right? So yes, you are still getting a lot of benefit from this special inscription: 2% damage resistance, 2% smite damage resistance, and stronger direct damage when you do convert, right? And in real world fights, this probably won't slow you down very much, if at all, but in some situations it will definitely slow you down. And the other thing that I'll point to, right, is that the rare inscription Ballista gives you 1.5% damage resistance and 1.5% smite damage resistance without any of the converting or missing out of the rage consumption on Emperor Qin, right? So it's kind of almost as good. Like you get almost as much of the good stuff right up top here, right? It's 4% versus 3% total, so it is less. But with Ballista, you don't have to think about like, oh, would I have performed better if at the end there I didn't get swarmed down with maneuver at ease, right? And like really, if you're running Emperor Qin with Seong-Gye or you're running Emperor Qin with Zhuge Liang, you don't want to be casting this active skill less. Like that just is not, you never want to do that, right? I mean, this is a strong 5-target circular AoE, and you have a powerful debuff. Troops hit with this skill deal 15% less damage for 3 seconds, right? Like you want to cast that as often as possible, and anything that will cause you to cast your active skills less frequently is something you should be really cautious about obtaining, even though again, there is still some upside here. I personally am probably not going to be getting this special inscription. That's just me. If some of you out there do have this special inscription and you want to do more tests here to send them to me, I would be interested to see actual real world fighting reports, right? Like actually just when a zone opens, fight with this for a little bit, get a bunch of reports, and then fight without it for a little bit and see if there's any difference. It might be negligible, you might not really even notice it, but then the question is, okay, if it's negligible, then why spend 10 conversion stones, right? Like you would want to see an actual improvement putting this in, not just that it doesn't negatively infect you, but that it positively affects you, right? I mean, that's the whole point of special inscriptions, is that you should be performing better with them. There shouldn't be a downside that you're accounting for, right? At least not in my opinion. Okay, the other thing I'll point out is if you have this already because you converted something before watching this video, or because you didn't know, or because you knew but you didn't care, you assumed that it was worth it, what I will say is you probably can just put this on your second archer march and then you're good to go, right? Like you don't have to worry about this at all if Emperor Qin is not in the equation. That's like the biggest part that you should take away from this video. If you're running 2 archer marches, just put this on your second archer march and then it's all upside, right? There's literally no downside. You just get that and you're good. With Emperor Qin, you might not want this in some situations, so I would hold off. But for those of you that only have 1 Emperor Qin march like me, I am personally going to hold off on getting this even though I can. And let me just make one last thing clear here, okay? Because this is something that I see a lot with Rise of Kingdoms players. If something is not best in slot, the Rise of Kingdoms brain says it's useless, right? And I always find that like very frustrating. Like that is just the incorrect, that's just not true, right? So I don't want you to sit there and think, oh my God, I got maneuver at ease and it's useless. No, that's not true. Okay, it's not useless. It is still a special inscription, and on anybody else other than Emperor Qin, it's very good. Okay, it is a very good special inscription. It's just that there is a bit of a lack of synergy with Emperor Qin specifically, and it does feel bad because he is the strongest archer in the game right now. Okay, and I will remind you, we do have new archers coming around the corner. I predicted they would be here in sometime in April. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I predicted mid to late April. We will see. That would make the most sense to me. So when these new archers come into the game, suddenly maneuver at ease might be super strong. Okay, so just I want to kind of get ahead of the narrative that, oh, maneuver at ease, it's useless, it's garbage, it's horrible. No, it's not. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. Okay, the point of this video, just to let you know, maybe don't put it on Emperor Qin, put it on your other march. That's probably a better play, at least until we see players who have it get more real world fighting experience with this special inscription, because as it stands right now, it seems like it does slow down the skill cycle. And even though you're still going to have full uptime of Emperor Qin's active skill, you will be casting your secondary active skill a little bit less. Okay, and that's just straight up not a good thing. Okay, so with all that being said, hopefully you guys didn't get it or spend your conversion stones on it before watching this video. At least this is the soonest I could get this video out to you guys. I literally haven't even showered getting back from the airport yet. My luggage is still, I mean, the handle's still up on the luggage, right? I literally pulled it right in here and pressed record. This is the soonest I could get this information to you guys, and I do want to give a huge shout out to Lord Per for sending me this information. I did have other people reach out to me saying yes, they confirmed it does slow down the skill cycle, but Lord Per was the one that actually sent me very clean test results that you could clearly see the difference without anything else going on here. So thank you, Lord Per, I appreciate that. Hopefully your testing can help out everybody watching this video make the right investments for their account. And this is semi-related, but I do want to give a shout out to Emthala as well, because I actually reached out to him. I knew Emthala had steel skin, which is the flag special inscription for Delta formation. Okay, so basically Delta formation's equivalent to maneuver at ease. Emthala is a Giga Chad cavalry main, so I knew he would have it, and I was curious to know what is steel skin's uptime. We see on turn 10 the first active skill is cast here. Diabolical rage gain, by the way. Insane stuff here. Like, look at all the stuff that takes effect with combo damage. It's just actually insane. But here we can see steel skin inscription, and he gained 1 2 3 4 5 6 stacks of toughness. And then on the following turn 11, you will see Arthur's damage taken decreased by 7.5% due to the toughness effect. 9 turns left. Okay, so immediately it went to maximum stacks on the first skill cast on turn 10. It's still there on turn 19, and it has 7 turns left. Turn 30, we see it still has maximum stacks with 7 turns left. Turn 54, I'm just picking random numbers that are far apart. We see max stacks, 6 turns left. Even on the final turn, it's at maximum stacks with 8 turns left. Okay, so the TLDR here is that if you're running a double combo march, then you're gonna have basically permanent uptime of the maximum stacks here. So you're getting 2% damage resistance, and on top of that, 7.5% less damage taken for 10 seconds. Okay, which is basically permanently. As long as you're staying in battle, you're constantly casting your active skill. That's where a majority of your your combo attacks come from, right? So comparing this to the maneuver at ease skill, it's like, okay, you miss out on the smite damage resistance, but like 7.5% less all damage taken is really good, right? Now it's not a resistance, like it's not multiplicative, but still, I mean, like that is insanely good, right? And so the reason that I'm including this in the video is to like kind of show that like, okay, this flag is a lot older than maneuver at ease, right? Because that was kind of like the knee-jerk reaction is like, okay, well, wedge 2 formation is categorically better in every single way, and like definitely true compared to wedge 1, obviously, but I think there's still some instances where we've got some competing special inscriptions on other formations that are just as good, if not better. I really like steel skin a lot now that I know that the uptime is basically all the time if you're running 2 combo calves in a single army. So there's a good chance that I grab steel skin personally for me over maneuver at ease now that I have this information and I have enough of the currency to buy either of them from the superior armament shop here. Okay, this is the steel skin special inscription right here. So guys, with that being said, if this video was helpful or useful or informative and you made it all the way to the end, please consider dropping a thumbs up on it. It really does help out the channel a ton. Hopefully this helped you make the right decision with your conversion stones or your inscription shards. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any other insight that I might have missed about maneuver at ease, and while you're down there, consider subscribing to the channel and clicking the bell to be notified the next time I upload a Rise of Kingdoms video. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.